Thank you, everybody, for being patient. We're just sharing it out in the back channel.
Okay, I'm going to begin. All right, good morning to everyone. Good morning. It's the first day of the month, October 1st. And it's a bright, beautiful, sunny day. I hope it's bright and sunny where you are. And if you are in Florida, our thoughts are with you. Hopefully, you guys have power or you didn't get that affected by the hurricane. Um, but let's begin. Let's begin. So, there's been a lot of things going on the past year with regards to reparations, especially all the focus right now is on California and the reparations task force. And thankfully, the governor Newsom finally got something right in regards to Black American descendants of chattel slavery by making sure that the reparations task force was not compromised in any way, shape, or form. So that's very good because the rest of the country is going to need that template once they get their reparations claim on the books. The rest of the country is going to need that template to make sure that each state can allocate the correct funds to, the descendants. But I created this space because over the last few months, I've been seeing a lot more of Caribbeans and Africans trying to either derail the reparations movement or try to hitch their wagon onto it. And being that I am of Jamaican lineage, I find this very appalling because as much as they're trying to hitch their wagon to a claim that they can't do, they won't do the same for the country where their lineages are. And that's very disturbing to me because Europe owes them a lot more than what America owes, but they think America is the soft target. So I've been going back and forth with a lot of them on Twitter, but I said, you know what? Let me just open a space, have them come in and try to tell us why they're so upset that they can't be a part of this. And maybe we can get to some understanding because, once you start pressing them with facts and figures and logic, y'all become a hate group. So, Nikki, do you want to say anything?
I'm sorry. Can you give me a minute? Because there's some background noise. Give me just a minute. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Um, so if you are FBA, I mean, if you have an opinion with this, that's fine. I'll bring you up. But I mostly want to hear from Caribbeans and Africans. That's why I said everybody at the beginning, make sure Caribbeans and Africans come into this space because if you're against this reparations movement, I really want to hear why. And if you are for it, I need you to be a voice like myself to tell our people, y'all need to stand down and focus your energy over there.
And
So,
if you are not against the reparations movement, come up anyway and tell us if you know if of anyone who is against it and if you can help us understand their argument so that we can better communicate.
yeah, because I don't get it. I really don't. I understand that they think it's free money, but it's money that's not allocated to you. So for the life of me, I don't understand it. And your best weapon to do in this reparations movement is just get out of the way if you're not part of it or you don't benefit from it, just get out of the way.
Well, they are eligible for reparations, like in their, home countries, and that's what CARICOM is about. And they can get reparations as well. They would have to put up a claim, from the country where they are from or where their parents are from, and they can get reparations that way. They just can't get reparations based on us. They can't get reparations from here. We get reparations from here because we are American Foundation of Black Americans. We are descendants of slavery. slaves here. So it's not like they can't get anything. They just don't have claim to our monies. That's what that is.
But didn't y'all know the FBA dollar is worth more than their dollar?
Yeah, but if they're owed something from their country, they're owed it. You know, point blank. But that's where they need to go, and they can learn. They can learn from our template. From the way that we are going about trying to obtain reparations. They can pick up from us once we get our reparations, and we are getting it. They can pick up from what we're doing and follow our plan and do the same thing to apply for reparations with CARICOM.
But they don't. But they're not even doing that either. That's the point. You have an organization that's willing to fight for you, but you're not promoting it. You're just hanging on to what you guys are doing. That's strange. I
We
get
have
that
to
you were
make it.
born. I get a lot of them were born here, so they feel as though they have a claim to that. But if you trace your background is on the continent. Your background is in the Caribbean. Go get your money over there. The Queen is dead. Go get your money.
Has anyone in here celebrated? I mean, mourned the Queen and cried from the Queen being dead?
Did you buy a costume and watch the funeral a couple weeks ago? It's okay if you did. I'm not judging you.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna do it this way. If you are of Caribbean or African descent, raise your hand or put up a heart. I'm cracking the hell up looking at this screen.
I know they're probably
it's
still
like,
eat
it's
they're
like
probably still eating sawfish and kalaloo right now. I
I
get it.
think I think these are like all of our people though in
Well,
the
your people,
space.
your
These are
people.
all of our people. So
Okay,
that's
if
why.
you're B1, put a heart up. I'm trying to see something.
If you are FBA, put a heart up. If you are Black American, put a heart up. Okay, gotcha.
All right, where?
I think the
Well,
room
like
is
I said, the
pretty much.
Caribbeans are probably still eating sawfish
Yeah,
and kalaloo right now. So
yeah, because
I
this
don't
room
know.
is basically all of us basically, and everybody seems to be on code. You want to come up and talk, Cool Breeze?
I ain't, I don't know. I re- I just need one. I just need one Caribbean or African to tell me why. I just need one. Okay, I got Afro Lee and Cool Breeze. Let me start with Cool Breeze first.
Hey, what's going on, fam? Appreciate you guys letting me up and stuff. Um, what I'm saying, to hit the top of the room. Why the Caribbeans so upset? I think because as what's been said. The code is a leader. They've been off code. Saying we are getting on codify with each other, looking out for each other, and they can't do it in their homeland. They're coming over here and they're biting off of Black Americans, saying culture and everything else, making money off of us, and then then try to flip it on us, talking about we don't have no culture and all this other stuff. So they just as people been saying before, they can't do it in their home country. And I yell the mic on that, fam.
Yes, sir. Sorry about that. I'm just putting up some tweets that I had archived about reparations, especially with the Jamaicans. I'm looking for some Africans right now. So If I do a delay in talking again, that's why. But Afro, go ahead.
I want to say thank you for holding this space, because this is what I'm talking about when I say just because you're non-FBA does not make you a tether or does not make you off code. And everybody should be holding their people accountable. You know, as a Jamaican person, you're holding the Caribbean and you're holding the non-FBA black people. You're holding them accountable because that has to get addressed. And I'm glad that you're doing it because you can address it in a different way than, let's say, I or any other FBA person could address it, you know, because when I address it, then it's, oh, why you hating all Africans? Why you hating all Caribbeans? But when you address it, they can't really approach you with that type of argument. So I'm glad that you're addressing it. As far as the Caribbeans and Africans, it is a good question. Why are they so upset? Why is there so much pushback? Let's let's really break this down, because in a video I did not too long ago, I discussed the crabs in a bucket mentality. And there is a big concept in the diaspora about the crabs in a bucket mentality, where they feel like, well, hey, if I ain't got it, I don't want nobody to have it. And that's very prevalent in the African diaspora. So we really going to have this conversation so we can get this addressed.
Yes, because this is going to be prevalent as the talks for reparations for you guys gets closer and closer to being resolved. I don't want y'all to get to the point where it's the states are going to start signing this stuff, and then all of a sudden some flag wearing coon comes outside and say, "Hey, what about us?" And then they start rethinking the shit. We don't need that. I need that template. There's about seven tribes on this earth that owe my people money. And the first one I think of is the one that put out the money so they could do it. But I ain't gonna go there on it. I'll do it on my YouTube channel because I don't care. But France, England, Spain, the Dutch, the Chinese, the Arabs, they owe my people a lot of money. I need that. My family needs that. I'll take my cut out of that 500 million. I don't want y'all's trillions. I really don't. But it seems like they see the trillions over the millions and they think they'll get a bigger slice of the pie. So they'll fake it until they make it, I guess.
Now, this room here, even though I'm sure that y'all are used to seeing certain rooms about non-FBAs run a certain way, this room is not to attack anybody. Yeah, yeah, Kid Gravity is cool with me and Afro. You know, he's pretty tight with us, but we not using him as no attack dog against like Africans and Caribbeans. You can feel safe in here to speak. If you are of non-FBA lineage, you can feel safe. Nobody's going to just come at you like that. So if I sent you a mic, you don't have to feel like people are going to just start all coming at you at one time. It's not like that.
Here's the thing too. Um, the conversation needs to be had about, and okay, let me say this. I understand, as being a non-FBA person, how you might feel that you get beat up on. If you're a non-FBA, I can kind of not empathize but sympathize with the fact that you feel like, damn, everything I do is tether this, tether that. If make one comment, is, oh, I'm a tether. Now you do have to understand, unfortunately, the situation has built up to this level. Now, if this was a few years ago, then the situation wouldn't be so tense. But it's tense now because a few years ago, when we started to call it out, it wasn't being addressed at all. And I keep saying this because it stays very true. When Michael B. Jordan was being attacked by the Caribbean, not just I think it was one Caribbean island, but not just one island or one country, by the entire Caribbean and Africans too, for whatever reason. Nobody from the African diaspora said anything in Michael B. Jordan's defense. It was, oh, we got to gatekeep. Oh, you Black Americans don't have no culture. And all I said was, okay, now when we start keeping the same energy, everybody's going to start calling foul. All of the Akadas, and for years, it's been at least like 3 years or so. I've been all like, okay, every time I see somebody saying something against Black Americans, when the non-FBA don't say nothing, if they don't say nothing now, then they can't complain later. I've been saying that for like at least 3 years now. There was this one um dude from the Caribbean. He just said, I hate Black Americans. And it was like a trending tweet where just for no reason, he was all like, man, I hate Black Americans. And I was all like, oh, okay, I find that very interesting that none of the other Caribbeans or Africans are saying anything. Also, too, with the hold on, let me see. Also, too,
I
with
let
the
him.
what you call the Tether Lachlan dude from Nigeria who was saying Clarence Thomas's ancestors
Oh,
should
you
have
talking
been
about
lynched.
Heather Locklear?
Yeah, Tether Lachlan. Nigerians didn't say a damn thing, and that whole interaction transpired for about a week, and Nigerians were nowhere to be found at all. Neither would, for the most part, no non-FBA were to be found. Now, Kid Gravity, I saw you said something, so you cool, but for the most part, no non-FBA were to be found. So now, when it boils up to this point, over the course of years, you guys can't be mad. You guys can't feel like we're doing y'all bogus or nothing, because y'all have plenty of time to correct yourself. You have plenty of time to straighten your own group out, and you turned a blind eye to the bullshit. Even this year, when you had non-FBA hosting slander spaces against FBA, none of them wanted to address it for the most part. So now it's at this point. So I don't want to hear nobody saying, well, FBA, oh, y'all just got to understand. I just don't understand why y'all hate all Africans, why y'all hate all Caribbeans. That's not what it is. This is the consequences if you guys not handling your business. And I'll land there.
Yes, sir. And for the record, coming from a non-FBA side, I don't hate Caribbeans and Africans, but I will call out the bullshit. Y'all, y'all can't hide behind your flag when it's convenient, and then hide behind your flag when criticism shows up. That's not how this works. You have to be open to criticism any way you get it. So if you're for reparations, like I said, you got to be standing with me saying, yeah, Black Americans should get that. So we can get that template. We can take it back to our countries, get the right leaders and the right grassroots in place, and go get this money. If you're not for it, cool. Move out of the way. Don't actively sabotage it. That's all they're saying. They've even, I know plenty of B1, FBA, and ADOS and Freeman people that'll say, as long as you guys go for yours, we'll cheer you on from the sideline. We'll do that for you. But you got to show the effort. But when it comes to theirs, nah, y'all not y'all. That's a different argument. Don't do that because it's not fair for them to put all their energy into something and you put 50% of the energy into it. Like, where's the reciprocity? But Jason, go ahead.
Thank you to the host for letting me speak. Just real quick on the topic, I would agree. I understand, and I've spoken in immigrant spaces about this before, and I made connections. We were able, even though it started out hostile, we were able to come to an understanding. But yeah, so if you feel like Afro and Nikki were saying, if you feel attacked, we will admit that there are some people that do that, and some of the people that are more likely to do that. We're on the process of getting them out the paint. So, you know, not everybody should jump down your throat just because of where you were born. But like they were also saying, this has been going on and building up for years, if not decades, because even before Twitter and all that stuff, we know, especially as Black Americans and immigrants, if you talk to certain people behind closed doors or even not behind closed doors, they will admit some of the white supremacist stereotypes that they've bought into about Black Americans, and many of them still do buy into it to this day. Let's keep it a buck. And one thing I didn't like about people, because people, and let's be honest, people will try to groupify FBA and ADOS because not all Black Americans refer to themselves as that. They refer to themselves as African American or just Black American. So because of that, they will try to groupify FBA and ADOS and respond to us as a quote unquote group. However, that's very disingenuous, and I know this from witnessing it because many times we would see before and after these movements, Africans, Caribbeans, we'll be honest, mostly Africans, but Africans and Caribbeans would get on Twitter and say vitriolic things about African Americans appropriating their culture and African Americans not having culture and all the African Americans are lazy, all of that stuff, right? And the Pan Africans and the non FBAs who were always on our neck for we're all black, we're all black, we're all black, were eerily silent, even though people like myself would go out our way to tag the Pan Africans and say, hey, bro, you always on under my comments, you're always on my tweets. What about this person? Even if it wasn't necessarily vitriolic, I remember something where some Haitians were doing something where they were talking about this is only for Haitians or Haitian Twitter. And there were no Pan Africans that are always find a way to be up under an FBA or ADOS post. Nowhere to be found, constantly, repeatedly, even after being tagged and saying, hey, look at this, where you at? No response, no comment. But anytime a Black American starts saying, I'm going to distinguish myself as a Black American, they got all kind of comments. We all black, we all black, we all black. So when other people are running around distinguishing themselves, they may or may not be saying vitriolic things. Nobody had the energy for them. And so we have to keep it honest about that. You can't keep purposely ignoring one side and then try to come and have fake moral outrage with the other side when you had now, many of them have deleted their tweets by now, but there was a time for a couple of months, about 2 or 3 years ago, where South Africans were just jumping out the window on Black Americans repeatedly in the tweets. And there were no Pan Africans around. But as soon as Black Americans start saying we're going to start circling our wagons and focusing on our lineage like everybody else does, all of a sudden, hate group, you guys are this and that, you hate everybody, we're all black, you're coons, this, that, and the other. But any other time anybody else that's non-Black American is running around distinguishing themselves with their specific flag and their specific culture, it's all good. But as soon as Black Americans do that, oh, what about we all black? It's very disingenuous, it's very hypocritical, and that this is why a lot of times your complaints are falling on deaf ears, and it actually makes the people go harder because they see the deaf ears that you practice when someone who is non-Black American has been doing the same thing, and they've been doing it a lot longer, if we're being honest. And if you can't even be honest about that, then we're not going anywhere, and you're going to keep being mad and butthurt, and people are going to keep doing what they've been doing. But thank y'all for letting me speak.
Yes, sir. Appreciate your insight. And that's the thing too. Like you said, we can all stand together, but at a certain point, we all have to go our separate ways. Like you have your own fight. You can't be scared of people who already started the fight and not being a part of it, then starting your own fight and getting the support. You can't join in on something that's already started. That looks weird. Because once they get to the finish line, you're going to stand there trying to take credit for something that you didn't do or you didn't put the hard graft into. Like, how would you like it if, let's just say, for argument's sake, Jamaica drafted their petition for reparations, took it to the Buckingham Palace. They said, okay, fine, whatever, we'll give you your money. And then all of a sudden, Black Americans come off all these planes, all these JetBlue and Air Jamaica planes, hooping and hollering, and then holding out their hands. Y'all would think that was weird. So if it's weird for you, how do you think it makes them feel when they're leading this charge that everyone around the world can use? And then you're just saying to yourself, whatever, I'm just going to latch on to it. Maybe I'll get like $1,000 here, $1,000 here. Yeah, y'all look like scammers when you do that. I'm sorry to say it. But, you know, This is the age where people can't be criticized, and you know, just slightly elevating your voice, people think they're feeling attacked. But I'm gonna stop. Nikki or Afro, if you got something to say, or Cool Breeze, go ahead.
Cool Breeze, go ahead.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Yeah, I just want to agreeing on what you just said, because there's some that are on code, and there's some that are not. And I've been to some places on, like, in diaspora and stuff, and they you have some people, you know what I'm saying, that what I've seen over there is, and I'm not saying all of them, but it's this individualistic mindset. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get mines. As long as I'm get mine, I'm good. And they're not all the way codified over there. You know what I'm saying? At least for what I've seen. And so they take that same mentality and they bring it over here, and they try to flip it on us. You know what I'm saying? So they're jealous of us getting codified. You know what I'm saying? And they they bite off of our culture. You know what I'm saying? We make things popping around the world. Everything that we do, we get it popping, and we, what I'm saying, it becomes a commodity. So, like, and I think they're maybe jealous of that. So, but I'm gonna leave it at that, and I'm gonna yell at the mic.
But why should you feel jealous about that? That should be the question you ask them. Because Jamaica got this whole code saying, out of many, we are one. So you shouldn't feel alone in a group. But again, I don't know. Scott Lowkey, go ahead.
Um, I just feel like as Black Americans, we always gonna have a lot stacked against us and whatnot. And it's important that we continue to know that, but also not allow it to, affect our day to day. Almost like saying fuck them, but still calling shit out. Because I do notice, if you if we as Black Americans, think about the tethers too hard and too much, it could affect us mentally and make us just as unhappy as they are. Because they really just a bunch of unhappy people. That's really is. Happy, hurt people want to hurt people. So at the same time, I would say it's good for us to continue to call stuff out, because we haven't really called stuff out in the past. But don't, when you walk outside in the real world, just remember to keep your poker face on and do your thing. You know what I'm saying? Don't walk with a cloud over your head. Nah, land my plane.
Thank you for that. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll say, the thing is that we have to judge people by a case by case basis. We shouldn't be generalizing anybody just because they're FBA or they're non-FBA. That's not the proper way to do anything. Okay, you have to take everybody by a case by case basis. To me, it doesn't matter if you were born in Jamaica, Nigeria, Haiti, the South America, it doesn't matter, or America, it doesn't matter. If you're a Black person who's on code, we can't assume that every Black person is on code anymore. That's been a problem. Now, the reason, now I know I'm saying this and it might seem like, oh, that's hypocritical. The reason why it seems as if we target the non-FBAs is because we, for years, have been able to point out a very distinctive pattern with the people who come in and go against the grain of Black empowerment. That's the only reason. It's not because of xenophobia. It's not because we don't like your culture or we don't like the fact that you're not from America. Is the fact that we see a pattern of behavior that, to be honest, a lot of you all admit to. that goes against black empowerment. That's the only reason. Like, let's be honest. It's not because you guys like, you know, Jollof rice. I know it might seem like a lot of jokes be told or whatever, but it's the fact that you guys say, "Oh, I can't wait to come over here and get with a white person." It's the fact that you guys are over there bleaching your skin. It's the fact that you guys are over there crying and modeling in the mud for the Queen of England. Those are the reasons that there's so much pushback on our side for against you all. That's the reason. It's not because we just don't like people who aren't from here.
And also, you forgot to mention about the class systems over there.
What'd you say? You said what?
The class systems,
Yeah, yeah.
because it's like what Afro said about the skin bleaching. That's very prevalent over there, especially in Jamaica and I forget the other country. I'm not going to speculate though, but things like that, y'all got to cure that first if y'all really going to be serious about this reparations, because there's no point in you getting it and you still continue the same behaviors. The point of reparations is you're repairing what happened to your people and your culture and your country, and then you take that and move forward. So moving forward is the key word. So you can't be a country who says, okay, we got a king, a prince, and his wife come into my country. We're gonna go tell them about reparations, and they listen. And here we are, 6 months later, and you guys let that cool off because the queen died, and y'all sat there for 12 days mourning this woman. Like you're sending a mixed message. That's why people were very hesitant to say, okay, hey, Jamaica, go ahead, go forward. They were like, yeah, okay, you know what? Good. This is good. You guys, again, keep the fight going. And they left it alone because they wanted to see if you guys were serious. And the country has shown they're not serious about this. They're worried about the wrong things. So at the end of the day, what do you want them to do? There's not much you can do.
Exactly.
Anybody else want to come up and speak? Just request the mic. If not, um, I don't know. Uh, Nikki, Jason, anybody want to say something?
Okay, so I do feel like we are making progress with the communication. Excuse me, I'm like doing a lot right now. I apologize. I do feel like we are making a lot of progress with the understanding of reparations. I'm seeing a little bit less pushback from from our non-FBA community, but I do feel like we still have a long way to go. Um, I just have issues with the way that some people in the past have gone about it, with labeling anyone who is non-FBA as a tether. How do you expect someone to listen to you when you approach them in an aggressive way? And I've always stood at that. I felt like it was just asking for trouble. Now, if you are a tether, you just are one. If you are cooning, if you are trying to excuse me, if you are trying to ruin what we're trying to do in regards to getting the money that's owed to us, yes, that is an issue, but I don't feel like we have to go out of our way to insult people who have shown no aggression towards us in order to make a point. And so I feel like that has slowed down the progress that we could have made, because we had people on this site telling people that they weren't black if they are not FBA. And I personally don't agree with that. I feel like you're black, you're black. That's where B1 comes from. And some people don't agree with that, and they don't have to. I know what I've lived by for, forever. But I just feel like we can, and I do feel like a big hunk of the non FBA people do have an issue with respect, with being disrespectful, but that doesn't mean everyone. And we do need to check that type of behavior. We need to address it. We need to continue to address it, especially when people do things like join a task force and try to act like they deserve money that they don't deserve because their ancestors ain't even from here. That is a problem. So if you're with us, you're with us. You're going to help us get what we're owed. You are going to act like you are grateful that you have been allowed to come to this country and benefit from it. And you will ally with us. And for those of you who are doing that, I personally appreciate you and I consider you to be an ally and I respect you. For those of you who like to coon and throw people up under the bus, we are on top of you. We're not putting up with that anymore, and we do consider you a tether. And the people who are not tethers, who are FBA, they aren't putting up with that either, and they're coming for you if that's what you are about as well. And I'll land.
Nikki, just say the truth. Just say we're gonna kick you in your ass. Just say.
I don't. I'm trying to be polite. I'm trying to turn
No,
over a new leaf
I
and be
feel
a
you
good
on that.
girl.
I feel you on that, but this ain't the time to be polite.
Yeah,
You got to
but
tell the truth.
we not like some other people
If
though.
you mess this up, you gonna get kicked in your ass. That's it. Just we can't be sugarcoating this stuff anymore because again, I think another problem is, and this is just from what I've observed, there's not enough consequences. Now, for
I,
those who are in the know on this
wait,
app,
real quick,
you saw consequences
real
this
quick.
week. Yes, sir.
Tori and
Yes,
Rain.
ma'am.
Where's Tori? Tori and Rain, wave at me. Say hello. I'm saying hello to you like a million times. You didn't say it back. Say just wave at me or something and say hello, Tori and Rain.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna assume you're sleeping.
He's probably doing something.
Yeah, he's
He
probably
normally just
recording.
puts it on and does other things.
And it goes off. Yeah, because
Yeah,
I'm
This
really
man has
busy
to
right
do.
now.
he's a busy man. It's all good.
Yes, he is.
He's got to keep us in the know. But
Okay.
no, but like I was saying before, we got to tell people if you mess this up, you gonna get a foot in your ass. That's it. We like I said, there's from what we've seen, who those who are in the know, I ain't gonna say what was going on, but you know. You saw the evidence of consequences if you mess around with what people are trying to build and what people are trying to get accomplished. I think a lot of these other groups, they don't see that. Like, yeah, you guys will yell at them and call them tether and anchor baby and all this other stuff. That's cool. But that's not a real consequence because they'll just move on to somewhere else. The real consequence is you have people that are well regarded in these B1 circles and FBA circles, ADOS circles, Freedmen circles. They have voices. They have people that trust their voice. And when they say something, people will think about it like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. I agree. I'm gonna do what's the right thing, and they'll move their support away from you. You guys are gonna end up, to use a phrase, you guys are gonna end up on an island by yourselves while everybody else is partying on the mainland. You don't want that. So, you know, we'll see. But Jason, go ahead and then the hard black truth.
Yeah, so real quick,
I'm
just to
sorry. I'm
piggyback
sorry.
on what
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Let me let Queen go first, then you, then hard black truth.
I usually don't really speak on spaces a whole lot because I'm learning. I'm still learning. I listen to Neely Fuller Jr. just about every day. And so my journey as a black woman, it's been a tough one. And not really understanding all the things that I was taught when I was a young child by my mother and grandmother and other family members, and watching things that happened to them. And so putting all that together, and now as an adult, I'm understanding a lot of things. A lot of things that were taught didn't make sense to me when I was younger, but now it's all coming to a head, and I'm grasping things and understanding. So with Caribbeans and Africans, I never really felt a connection because of the disrespect. That's the first thing that I saw growing up, was the disrespect. It was ridiculous. And I tried to, have conversations with different African women. I go into their braiding shops and things like that. And you try to make a connection, and it's like they're not interested. They don't care. And so I'm like, okay, so now what do I do? And, you know, I think social media has really captured what we experience in our personal lives. It's really shined a light on the relationship of Black Americans and Africans and Caribbeans. For me personally, when I see an African or a Caribbean, I don't see them as Black. I define them as how they define themselves, which is from Jamaica or whatever. But I do hear different people, like one lady I was talking to, and I did a couple of spaces with her. She's from England and she's from Ghana, but she considers herself British. So she does, when she refers to herself and other people in Ghana that are in England, she'll say Black. And I'm thinking, where did the term Black come from? So I hear different things here and there where Black came from. And I believe it originated with chattel slaves. I believe that's where it came from. So I think that's where the ownership lies. I think that in the past, when we look at the civil rights movement, Jim Crow, after quote unquote slavery ended, um, we had to create our own, and that's where Black came from. So when other people call themselves Black that are not from chattel slavery, I personally, nobody else has to, I personally take issue with that because of how hard we have worked to create what we have from absolutely nothing. Nobody gave us anything, but our people went and built, you know, um, financially, they built themselves up. The Black Wall Streets that we had, we made a way for each other. And so I take to heart and very serious when somebody calls themselves Black and they're not from chattel slavery. Now, saying that, I have great respect for you, Kid Gravity, for having this space because it's really important for people to see and understand now in this day and time to where our ancestors have gotten us. We're learning from their mistakes. We're learning and we are making a way for the future. And, I'm loving what I'm seeing with my people because I started fighting for Michael. And I've always been alone, like I keep saying, and I don't know much about my people. I don't know much about, the different lingo and how you guys communicate and stuff. So through Michael, I'm learning, I'm growing and getting to know my people with putting together the things that I was taught when I was a child. So, keep doing what you're doing, Kid Gravity. Um, you know, I see you. I recognize you. I've watched you too, along with everybody else in New Black Media. You're working your butt off. You're telling it like it is. We got it. This is the time now where we have to get people straight. We have to make sure that people understand what we're doing and that we're serious about it. When you have too many people, from different places and different things trying to tell us what to do, pull us there, pull us here, we've done all that. All of that has been done in the past. Now it's time for us to stand up and say, this is who we are, this is where we've come from, and this is what we're coming for. We're coming to get our check. And we need to make that clear. We don't need to stutter. We don't need to waver. We need to make it clear. I'm not trying to overstep anything anybody else has said in this forum or any other forum, but I'm standing on my own and I'm saying what I have to say. So I don't know what "land my plane there" means, but I'm done with lecturing. So I
You're doing
appreciate.
a great job. Thank you. You
Yeah,
did a great job.
yeah. So
Yes, ma'am.
so
All
I
right.
love y'all. I love y'all. I think you're doing a phenomenal job. I got to get along with my day. I appreciate you.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
guys
Stay
take
safe
care.
out there.
Yeah, and kid, we'll be talking on Monday. I got my alarm on and everything. I'm
Yes, ma'am.
excited. I'm waiting. Okay, you
Yes,
guys
ma'am.
take care. I love you. Stay strong out here. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I'll talk to y'all later.
All
Proud
right.
of you, man. Proud of you.
All right. Yeah. So what she was referring to is I'm going to be speaking with her on my YouTube channel Monday at 7 p.m. So, yeah, just look for Kid Gravity Beyond on YouTube. But let's continue. Brother Jason, go ahead, and then the hard truth.
Thank you for letting me speak again. So a couple of things I want to piggyback on what Nikki said real quick, and then I kind of want to address some of what the sister just said. But like Nikki was saying, and like I've said before, and other people, but since it was brought up again, certain people do go too far. Like I said, we're on the process of getting most of those people out of the paint. There still are going to be some that aren't a part of the people we're getting out of the paint that do that. And what I'm referring to is immediately judging somebody because of where they were born, or immediately showing vitriol to somebody because of where they were born. You're going too far. You can't expect anybody, just like if you're a Black American, let's say, just for somebody's individual experience, some Black immigrant, they were one of the few that wasn't a coon. Let's just say that, because a lot of them are. But as soon as they get to America, they get robbed by some FBAs. Now, even that would be some cooning, because you can get robbed in your own country and you're not going to turn on all your people. But I'm just giving an example of, if you as a Black American, you go somewhere and the first thing you experience is a bunch of Black immigrants attacking you, you might have some vitriol towards them because of your personal experience. So the same thing with us. When people are coming in these Twitter spaces, they may not personally have been one of the people, even though they may or probably do have family members who are those type of tethers, or whatever term you want to use. They themselves are not. But when they find themselves getting attacked by Black Americans just because of who they are, then they might start saying, oh, well, my family members were right about these Akatas or whatever. So you can't do that. You're just feeding into certain stereotypes. You're making it easier for your enemies to make you into a villain and a bad guy. And I know some people think they can take on the whole world, and to some degrees we do have to. So I'm not saying being cowardly, but at the same time, you don't need to create enemies for no reason, especially when you have enemies that are already against you for no reason other than you being for justice. And then you want to create more enemies who have justification to be against you. So we do have to be careful about that. Um, it's you have to just move with a little bit of intelligence and not pure emotion all day, every day, because that's what a lot of that is. It's just pure emotionalism. We talked about how certain people were being led by feminine and matriarchal energy. Um, so you have to reel that in a little bit sometimes. Again, people get out of pocket, do what you got to do. I've done what I had to do. I've said what I had to say to people who were out of pocket. But so, yeah, just to piggyback on that, she's right. We do need to chill in certain aspects, but also, of course, as we've all been saying, that doesn't mean we're going to stop checking certain behavior. But also to what the other sister said, about, especially about, the origin of the word Black and slavery. We have to be careful about, and this is not to be offensive to anyone, but this is just me speaking the facts, at least as far as I know them, um, about pseudo history, because what she described to me is not the origin of the term Black. The first person I know to really use the term Black as far as referring to African Americans was Elijah Muhammad. Now, some people may want to dispute that history, but it definitely wasn't after slavery, because that's why we had terms like Negro and colored and all this other stuff. Black wasn't something that started being used for us until the 50s and 60s. Now, it is true that it originated still out of America. That's undeniable, but it was not necessarily right after slavery or something we came up with right after slavery. We had several other terms to refer to us as before Black. Um, And I just say that to say that when you say stuff that may not be historically accurate, people will jump on that. See, this person don't even know what they're talking about. They making up history. This is why you can't trust them. Da, 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 da. And I'm not saying that she made it up. She probably heard that from somebody or saw that on some YouTube video or whatever. I'm just correcting that for the general public, at least as far as the history um, that I know. So, and I mean, as far as also when she was saying how when they get to Britain or a lot of times in America, that's when they start really calling themselves black. That's also true. I mean, some of that is, and this is not to make an excuse for them, but obviously these people come from all black countries, so they don't really use that term because black, honestly, it's a term that's in dichotomy to what? White. Because white people have always called themselves white, but they didn't. They always had some other name for us, and that's why a lot of us say, well, if you're white, I must be black. Like all of these other terms, Negro and colored and all that other stuff. Um, so people, so it's somewhat of a natural thing. I'm not necessarily mad at you if you didn't start using black until you got to America, but or Britain or whatever. But once you start to understand what racism is, um, and you want to refer to yourself as black, I have no problem with that because you are black, and the white supremacists have designated all African descended people or African phenotype people black, whether they want to be black or not. So it's just the reality of it. And we don't have the power to change that as of this point. But also, though, um, what becomes disingenuous or a problem is when you're black when it's convenient, when you want the benefits that African Americans have fought for. But then when you want to distinguish yourself from us, now you're Haitian, now you're Jamaican. Either you're black all the time or you're Haitian all the time. And don't get me wrong, you can be black and Haitian at the same time, but don't just use it selectively. So even though you may refer to yourself as Haitian in certain specific aspects, maybe when you're talking about the things that Haitians do or making jokes about your family or whatever it may be, and I'm just using Haitians as an example, it can be Jamaicans, Nigerians, whoever. I understand that that's natural and normal, but don't start distinguishing yourself when you hear someone talking negative about Black Americans. You need to take offense like they're talking about you. And even if it's your family member, that's when you have different energies. When you want some benefits, when you want to be included in what we're doing, when you, whatever it is, now you want to be Black. But when it's time to diss us, when it's time to say criminals, I'm not Black American, I'm Haitian. Don't do that. That's where people want to say, well, you're not Black ever. If you want to gonna not be Black when you get a degree, if you're going to not be a Black American when you get a nice job or whatever, don't become Black when the racists come. Don't become Black when it's time for reparations. Don't become Black then. Keep the same energy all the time. Like I said, I get specific individual little situations where you may change it up and it's not necessarily meant with any kind of deception or vitriol, but there are a lot of times where it is meant with that. So we just got to keep the same energy across the board. But I'll land my plane there.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. And there's a
I
great
want to ask.
fumble.
Let me
There's a
ask a
great.
quick question of the room. Does anyone believe that tethers, quote unquote, tethers can change their stripes? If yes, let us know how or why. If no, let us know.
That's a tough question. It depends on how they were raised.
I feel like anybody can change. You know what I'm saying? And it's really like it's really just that anybody can change. Will they change? When will they change? That's up to the person as a whole. Um, just the way the world is, it's kind of rough out here as far as the way people treat each other in general. So I don't see tellers as a whole, getting this big warm heart for us because deep down they already have somewhat of like a jealousy. So it's like like yeah they can change, but will they or when will they? Who knows?
Yeah. Um, yeah. Like I said, that's a tough question to answer because you have to take into account how they were raised. If they were raised with, oh, the Black Americans are negative mindset, that's going to be tough unless you put them into a situation where they have to consume a different mindset. If you can put them with people like what we're doing here, and you give them the books from like Francis Cress Wilson, Neely Fuller, Amos Wilson, Khalid Muhammad, and they're open and receptive to it, they may change their views. But you know, again, that has to deal with how someone was raised. Hard Black Truth, go ahead, and then DC, and then Cool Breeze.
Hey, Black first to the family out there. Okay, well, as far as that recent question, uh, I think a lot of folks you can hit a point of no return. Now if we're dealing with folks who are still, I don't know, in their youth and their development, and haven't really experienced much in life, maybe there's a possibility that as they grow, things might change. People change, right? But you eventually hit a point of no return. You eventually hit a point where, your experiences have been stained. You know what I'm saying? They've been kind of been imprinted on your mind, and ain't really no coming back from that. So, just be wary. If I don't know, just be wary and cautious with people overall. You know what I'm saying? We posed that question to Tethers, but you could make the same case for Coons and everything else. You know what I'm saying? To the sister that was speaking on the term Black, and I think a lot of that Jason kind of explained thoroughly just now. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I for one have always identified as Black. I grew up around non FBA folks who call themselves Black. You know what I'm saying? Like, one of my youngest memories was a Jamaican dude. His name was literally Mr. Black. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that. Is not everybody come from countries where it's predominantly Black folks. So in that regard, but I'm gonna fall back on Jason because he made it clear. Too many folks come out here and they use that as a convenience, and then when it's time to stunt, it's let me bring it back to my homeland, my home team, which oftentimes they don't even work with or do anything for. You know what I'm saying? So you're reaping the benefits here, and that to me is kind of like where it all lies, is the fact that too many folks are comfortable. You're comfortable being here, and you know what I'm saying? This is wonderful. You can enjoy, you can make whatever of yourself, and it's time to do me, and bump Black people as a whole. Like that mindset that frustrates me, but unfortunately it's real, and unfortunately it's prevalent for a lot of folks in the diaspora. That's just the facts. I would love to see folks, when we get these politicians and spokespeople to come up and say things that they know is contrary to the base Black society. Like, how do you get on air and say anything contrary to reparations, yet we see it happen time and time and time and time and time again? And it oftentimes ain't really the Coons. It's folks that have literally no ties here. You haven't bothered to learn. And I ain't going to try to say as much as learning. Learning history is great, but you have not bonded. There's no soul there. There's like, I'm ranting, but for real, like the shit irks the fuck out of me. Like, have some respect. You know what I'm saying? Have some acknowledgement, because slavery took place all over the Americas. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and if you come out of that in any which regard, understand your shit's been dissed up. If you happen to be here in the States, roll with the people that's making it happen. Roll with the people that's still to this day having to deal with an injustice system. This shit's black and white and plain as day with a lot of the shit that you see taking place. Look at these towns and cities that just go under because you had a storm or something like that. Nah, his infrastructure's not being paid attention to because they don't give a damn, because the folks that live in these areas are Black. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. Just you can try to get on call with folks. And if you call yourself being an on call individual, just do that. I'm done ranting.
All right, appreciate that. Appreciate that. Um, DC, you can go ahead.
Okay, appreciate it, family. Shout out to the B1 family in the building, New Black Media in the building. So, to respond to the question of, can the people that we classify as quote unquote tethers change their stripes? The answer is that usually people can be persuaded to change their behavior, but it's not before something drastic or tragic has to happen in their life. So you have people that drive too fast. Everybody tells them, man, you got to slow down. Then they wrap their shit around a pole and almost die, and then they get the message. So that's kind of like the same situation that we're dealing with right here with people that you would classify as quote unquote tethers. You know, my brother, I think it was Jason, spoke, and he was like, hey, you know, don't do this, don't do that, telling people, hey, you know, don't switch up on us when it's convenient for you. And, you know, that's the polite approach, and I'm not mad at that. But I'm of the opinion that that approach is not going to work, because currently there's too much benefit and incentive for them to continue to do what they do. There's too much benefit in code switching within Black society for them. So when you have Nigerian immigrants in particular, if you look at the ones who are prominent in media, when they sit down and interview them, I want y'all to pay attention from now on to how they always start off by telling the white person that their family immigrated from Nigeria. The reason why is because that's the dog whistle. That's letting the white person know, hey, I'm not like the rest of these niggas. I'm Black. You can feel the Black token with me, and I'll never try to overthrow you. And there's incentive in that for them, because we don't punish them for doing that enough as a society. So I'm going to land right there, but I just want y'all to hold that point and remember, as long as there's incentive for them, they're not going to stop doing what they're doing out of the goodness of their hearts. They're just not.
I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Cool Breeze, go ahead, and then Jason.
All right, cool. Yeah, I would like to, basically add to that. You know what I'm saying? I always say, people people don't change unless they want to change. And so like to answer the question, I think Brother Afro Elite brought up a good point. It's always a case by case basis, because you only know what you know, and what you don't know. So when I'm glad we're drawing the line as to where FBA and we're standing up for ourselves, because now we're seeing the people that we thought that was going to help us and all is been totally against us. You know what I mean? So when a person comes into consciousness, it's like, to me, are you going to continue to do what you're doing, or are you going to change your behavior? So to me, I think it depends on what's the person's intentions, because sometimes people, they do things was beneficial to them. So all of a sudden now they want to, they want to be Black when it's convenient, or now white supremacy, they get cracked up by the side of the head by white supremacy. Now all of a sudden they Black, but then beforehand, oh, I don't identify, what Black Americans, or I'm whatever, they like to identify for whatever perspectives, areas they're from, and then when they get a little taste of white supremacy, all of a sudden now they're Black. So to me, it depends on, like Brother Afro Lee said, it's a case by case basis, because it's too much information now. Nowadays, it's not like what it was before, back in the day, where it was hard to get some information and and stuff. Even then, our people, Black Americans, we got on code back in the day like that. So to me, are you going to be, once you get the information, are you going to continue your behavior, or are you going to continue to be disingenuous and say, hey, well, what racism? I don't see no racism. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna yell the mic at that.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Jason, go ahead.
So thank you for letting me speak again. I just want to kind of respond mostly to what the brother DC said, and I'll be real quick. He's right. I am taking the polite approach, and he's also right that certain people, they're just going to keep doing what they feel benefits them the most, and you have to make it very consequential for them to be doing the jumping back and forth, which is why some of the vitriol is needed, because people need to know, if you do that over there, You're not welcome back over here. We're not going to allow you to play both sides of the fence. We're not going to allow you to basically just aid the white supremacists all day until they flip on you. And then all of a sudden, you've been hearing us, even though we've been saying this all along to you. We can't have that. So I agree with him. The only thing I would caution of or say back in response to the other side is basically like I was saying earlier. You have to be careful because again, we just want justice. Nobody should be against that, but obviously we know a lot of people are, especially a certain demographic, and I'm talking about the dominant society. Um, so we're gonna have a lot of enemies just because we even have the courage to say this is what's right. That alone is going to get you enemies. Try to be careful about being too far out of pocket with certain people when you don't know anything about how they think or how they move. Because at least in my experience, I know, like the hard black truth has said, even though, yes, I know of black immigrants, I've already described it, black immigrants who switch it up, black immigrants who do all that stuff. But I also know of black immigrants who have married black Americans long before Twitter, so they didn't take FBA bullying them into it, who call themselves black and all that stuff. So that's all I'm saying. You would alienate people. If I'm a Pan African and I go to Nigeria and they all turn on me, that's going to turn me against Nigerians. Um, it's the same thing for a black immigrant. That's what I think the one thing that we forget, the human aspect. We're all human. Even if there are other black Americans who may have said or done something negative to a Nigerian, I don't deserve to pay for that. It's not fair. I don't know those people. I've probably never met them just because we're black Americans. They could have lived in California and I lived in New York. I don't know that person. Um, and it's the same thing for an immigrant. Now, yes, some of them do know these people, so let's not play the game. But some of them don't, or even if they do, that doesn't mean they agree with it. They co-sign it. That's where they're trying to come around you because they don't agree with that and co-sign that kind of behavior. So that's all I would say is just be careful. Don't alienate people for no reason, all because you're butthurt about what some other black immigrant has done. Now, if someone wants to question you about why you're all for FBA, let's have that conversation. And if they start showing their coon side, do what you got to do. But if somebody, you have to give somebody at least a chance to show you who they are before you make abrupt decisions. Because again, we're fighting for justice, and that alone is creating enemies. Let's not have a bunch of unjustified enemies and start creating justified enemies as well. But like I said, to circle it or sum it all back up, I don't really disagree with anything DC said, and I 100% understand exactly what he's saying. All I'm saying is just be careful of where the line is. That's all.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. MP1, go ahead.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. As far as tethers changing, when they are tethered and they got a certain mindset, it's really hard for them to change. It's really not gonna happen. They most likely are not going to change if they got the tether mindset already. And I talked to a lot of them. I didn't talk to a lot of them from Twitter Spaces to Clubhouse and things like that. And unfortunately, I didn't heard brother Tariq Nasheed say, a lot of them got a different mindset because the places they come from, basically the places they come from, is in squalor a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of the times. So the places they come from is in squalor. So when they get over here, they feel like they done made it to the big house. Like he said, it was like, the slave plantation and we in the big house, so they jealous. So as soon as they get over here, they in the big house, so they not gonna fight against white supremacy. They feel like they already made it. I didn't talk to plenty of them that told me, y'all don't know how good y'all got it, and I had to tell them, you don't understand that our ancestors fought for everything we got. So with you saying that y'all don't know how good y'all got it, he like, man, just some of the places y'all got water, y'all got good education, y'all got everything, and that's their mind state. They feel like that we are just complaining that we like this just happened for some reason. Like all of a sudden we got all these benefits, which we still don't got all the benefits we should have. But a lot of things we got is more than them. But they feel like
We complaining. No, we fought for all this. We died for all this. We hung from trees for all this. We died for you to even come over here and benefit from this. And they just can't quite understand that. Because where they come from, they see a bunch of black people in high places that's doing the BS for white supremacy, that's holding their people down. So they see all, they see black people as the enemy anyway, because they coming from places that the black people that's in position, high positions, that's different tribes and different families are in high positions. That's, just long as they kids going to the best schools, long as they rich and they family lineage rich, they don't care about the others. So they watch the others live in squalor. And they come over here with that same mind state, But unfortunately, everybody, like Jason was saying, everybody not like that. So yeah, you gotta. That's why I say I'm a Pan-Africanist to an extent. I trust you as far as I can throw you. If I'm gonna talk to you first and see where your mind state, then it's B1. Then is black first. Once I see you got the same mentality, because it's all in the mind. If you don't got a black first mentality, if you don't got a black people move forward, and I do believe we got things to do over here before we do anything anywhere else. So you got to, even if you an immigrant from somewhere else, you got to get your country popping before you could come over here and get popping. And if you already over here, of course you should side with FBA, because at the end of the day, you consider black in the eyes of white supremacy anyway. But like I said, I hear this, these arguments all the time. Africans and Caribbeans, and when they going against reparations or they get into politics, talking down on on reparations or getting into politics that's undermining African Americans, you are an enemy and you are doing treason. Because in any other country, if we went over there, you already know what happened to us. So we got to keep that in context. So if you are enemy and you in politics, you in our politics, and you harming foundational black Americans, you are committing treason. But like I said, at the end of the day, ultimately, until these people are into high places and into politics, they are not a threat. We still got to keep our eyes on them, but we got to keep in mind what's happening with all these other immigrants that could come over here and classify as white. From Asian to Latino to other white immigrants that's coming over here, because they the ones, especially on the border of Texas, they the ones that's coming over here in 10 or 20 years. They kids are gonna be getting into high political positions, definitely talking down on reparations, definitely talking down on any progress that FBA America is making. So Dr. Claude Anderson talked about this years ago. We gonna be the fourth minority. So at the end of the day, just like they was treating them Haitians and everything that was on the border that was getting chased and whipped down, and when they was on horses, that's how they gonna treat them. Unfortunately, a lot of them gonna come over here and just sit quiet or talk down or join white supremacy, thinking they gonna get a butter biscuit, but they not. And they gonna think they talking down. But all these other immigrants that's coming over here, about the thousands that can classify as white, they are the real enemy at the end of the day. These other people, they just gonna be tethers that's helping out white supremacy, and we gotta watch them, especially when they get in high places. But these thousands, hundreds of thousands of immigrants from Arabs to Asians, especially, like I said, it's a crisis at the Texas border right now. I just seen a black group just go down there with guns, an armed group go down there with guns, talking about, no, it's a crisis going on. These people are coming over here taking jobs and everything else from black Americans. You know what I'm saying? They went down there and stood at the border with their guns and stuff. So we got to, understand where and like I said, I heard the brother Tariq, and I'm gonna land after this. I heard the brother Tariq say plenty of times, especially when Joe Biden was gonna get elected, they did exactly what the brother said. They're going to come over here. Joe Biden going to allow all these immigrants that can come over here and classify as white to undermine us. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's letting so many come in. It's unbelievable. I need y'all to look up the B2 visas. I think it's the B2H visas. I had to look it up. I said again.
HB1s?
Yeah, the HB1 visa and the HB2 visas. They allowed, not only are they letting illegal immigrants come over here, they letting immigrants that can work on visas coming over here, getting all types of jobs that the average black American can't get, and they hiring them first. Even if we could get it, they gonna hire them first. Like you said, the H2B visas and the H21 visas, I need y'all to look them up. So they're allowing illegal immigrants and immigrants that they allowing legally come over here in droves to undermine us. And that's the real fight. And I salute and I land my plane.
Thank you. Those are some great points you made. I mean, yes, you said a lot, but a lot of people may not know about those visas, and I, I didn't always know that they get picked at the top of the list, and that does bother me because it shouldn't. They shouldn't be put at the top of the list over me or my family. But um, we do have a queue, so I'm going to call people based on the way I saw them raise their hand, and the next one will be Jason and
No,
Son.
it was Red Rock.
Who
It was Red Rock in the
who said
bottom.
that?
I did.
Oh, you said, oh, this your room. Okay, okay. I thought
Yeah, it was
somebody
Red
else was
Rock,
just
then
telling me. Okay.
Jason, then Andy, and then Son.
Okay. Go ahead, y'all.
All right, just a quick story. Um, Family, thanks for letting me speak for a minute. I went to a predominantly white high school, Benjamin Cardozo in Queens, New York, and we had a group of blacks. A lot of them were immigrants, and at that time, I didn't see no problem. Back then, nobody talked about their immigrant status as much as they do now. And I'm told since I left New York, because of the influx, that now it got popular. Everybody wants to throw that flex, and I have some immigrant descendants friends that so-called I would die for and they would die for me. But there was one girl, real pretty. She brought up at one of our reunions how her and another girl laugh at who got voted as the prettiest or nicest girl or something like that. I kind of remember it, but I don't. But I remember that she was real mean, and I pointed that out to her. I said, "You probably lost because you was mean." And she was from Caribbean descent, and she finally admitted. She said, "Because my family told me not to mess with y'all." So that was a shock to me. She claimed she wasn't mean, but I guess that was the root of it. But the next thing I want all our if you got kids, teenagers, family members, look into factory automation. I've been stopped tooting this every every space I get on because I'm getting sent people from Mexico to train to do automation type stuff. When I say automation, computer automation for these production lines, they're getting controlled by robotics and automated processes. It's a combination of computer, electrical, and mechanical. And we got a lot of immigrants that they're sending me to train, and I'm feeling bad because I hardly have any brothers to train. So right now, I'm just trying to train on company stuff, personal techniques that I've developed over the last 30 years. I'm trying to save that for some young brothers. So I'm gonna put up in the jumbotron if you allow me to. Little things to look at on the internet. Your kids, all our kids are good on computers naturally now, so they should be able to pick up on this. And if you
Yes, sir.
have some kids,
Hit me on
teenagers,
the back channel.
young men in your family. I had a little cousin, one of my first cousin's sons, 25 years old, didn't know how to operate the jack to his. So if you got people like that in your family, you get them out there, make them do stuff for no reason, just to get them doing stuff. Couldn't. I asked him, did he know how to operate this jack? And he said no, because his car was leaking oil. He didn't want to park in the driveway. And I'm saying, you ain't got to park in the street. Just jack up your car, look up, make sure your oil pan is tight. He hemmed and hawed for a whole week. And I said, you do know how to operate a jack, don't you? And he didn't know how. 25 years old. Going on date, meeting girls over here, taking them. I said, what if you get a flat tire? You out of the date. You can't change your tire. So, but we got to get them basic skills back into our youth. Thank you
Yeah, hey,
for
Red Rock, hit me on the back channel.
all right. Thanks for letting me speak for a minute. I hope that was of some help and information to somebody.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Let me get to Jason and then Andy.
All right, so yeah, thank y'all again. Just real quick, and MP1 kind of reminded me to say this. I meant to say this the first time when I was responding to DC. But the other thing, outside of just creating, enemies that maybe shouldn't be your enemies, uh, the other thing that I caution against, and this is what I started to see a lot, especially from the people that were getting out the paint, that started to concern me, is that we get so much on the black immigrant or tether problem that it seems like we're starting to purposely forget or ignore or even make excuses for other enemies. For example, because I know I've been around longer than a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people. Um, there was a time where you could possibly consider Tariq Nasheed a Pan-African. That's why you may see some of the people who are
No problem. Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. Greetings to the room, and shout out to brother Afro Elite. Yeah, me personally, I support reparations. Yeah, I'm speaking from Accra, by the way. I support reparations, but I want to speak on the word black. And shout out to brother Jason. Hello?
Go ahead.
Oh, I
You're
don't know.
safe.
Yeah, I don't know how long my microphone was off for,
I
but
just
did
want
you
to
hear
say I'm
me?
back. Everybody
Oh,
had to step away,
We
No
hear
problem.
but
you.
I'm back. Um, I've been hearing a little bit of what everybody's been saying. I feel like this conversation has been going well so far, so that's a really good thing. I want to piggyback off of
Hold on,
what Jason
Afro.
has
Let me
said
let
too.
Andy finish. Hold on. Let Andy finish.
Yeah, shout out to Brother Afro Elite. Yeah, I support reparations, but I want to speak on the word black. I'm speaking from Accra, Ghana. So my take on the word black is that it is not a unique American term. What I mean is, if you go back to Europe, the Moors were called Moor because they were black. And even in Spain or in South America, they call black people Moreno. Even in the Caribbean, like the Dominicans and I think the Puerto Ricans call black people Moreno, which literally means black. And on the African side, at least on my mom's language, which is the Ga language, Ga people are the natives of Accra. They call people with the African phenotype as black people. The word is Modin. Mo means person, and Din means black. Like the color of my hair is a Din. Now, at the end of the day, we still delineate, we still call ourselves Ga people. We call the Ashantis Ashanti people. We still identify ourselves as tribes. But when we look at people who have the phenotype of the African, you are Modin. So it is not a uniquely, American term, even though it's political for you guys. A lot of us identify ourselves as black, with or without white supremacy. The interesting thing is, we don't call Europeans white people, literally, like in my mom's language. We call ourselves black, literally, but we don't call them white. We have a word for them called brofonio. Brofonio literally means a hoe. I cannot say this without chuckling. A ho or like a hoe ass nigga, because they cannot be trusted. That is what we call them. And because we were colonized by the British, when someone is speaking English or the English language that we all speak right now, it's called Brafo, which means you are speaking a whole ass language. You understand? We understand white supremacy in the sense that these people cannot be trusted, and they have a poor track record of being human, so to speak. Um, Also, to speak about the tethers, I think the solution is delineation. Um, that is the only way you can really make sure that some of the trash doesn't get thrown on you people as FBA. What I mean is when, and Brother Tariq has spoken about this, when an immigrant commits a crime, they don't mention where they come from. They say this black person has committed such and such crime. Now, the more you delineate and show, okay, this person is from Nigeria, this person is from Ghana, it will cause the communities in America, the Ghanaian community, the Nigerian community, to actually start fixing their people or actually getting their people on code, trying to find ways to solve the problem. Because until now, it's always been okay, those FBAs are criminals, or we are the doctors. So right now, they'll be forced to do the soul searching to look at themselves and try to solve their problems. And by so doing, I believe they are going to learn to do that back home, because America is a good place for people to actually get on code and get something moving. Unlike Africa, where it's harder to get people to support a certain movement. If they can learn to do that in America, to solve their small communities of maybe 10,000, maybe 1 million, maybe 100,000 people, the same strategy you can apply back home, because we haven't figured out how to do that yet. So it's good to delineate for us and for you guys as well. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thanks.
No problem. I appreciate that. Son, go ahead, and then DC.
Hi, thank you for the room. Thank you for letting me speak. To the question regarding tether, can it, guess can a tether change or something? I guess it depends on the person. Um, I was so my family's from Nigeria. I was born here. Um, I was born and raised in PG County, Maryland. So basically, I grew up with FBA and also non-FBA. So I I I never knowingly went against Black Americans. but looking back, like I've realized I was unknowingly going against Black Americans due to the way I voted. So I feel like years ago, I guess I could consider myself a tether, just due to the way I voted, vote blue no matter who, that type of thing. And when you like when Black issues arise, you know, it's almost one year out the other when it comes to being a Democrat. It's very odd. It's almost cult-like. It's a little bit. What really woke me up was a couple years ago when I volunteered for DCCC. I'm gonna be really quick. Um, I phone banked for Ben Jealous. So I don't know if anybody phone banked before, but they give you a script for quick key points to go to when you're talking to somebody over the phone. So one thing they did tell me, like they'll say, "Hey, if you get somebody talking crazy or whatever, just ignore them." So I'm like, okay. So a couple calls here and there. Then I got to one call. I got to one call, quote unquote, what they would call quote unquote crazy. So I'm in Maryland, so I guess I'm heading up some people in Baltimore City, and then like I would talk to them, and then they'll just literally go off on me, like, "Oh, I would never vote for a Democrat. Like, why would I vote for a Democrat? Look how the streets are. Look at where these jobs. Look, we don't get no job. Blah 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 blah." They was just going off, and instead of like ignoring them, which they would tell me to do, I was actually listening, and it hit me. I'm like, why would we ignore these people grievances? Like, what are we doing? Like, this is wrong. This is like way off. So when I get to people that just be going off, I will listen to them, and I'll just literally just go off script and be like, look, because at that point in time, I didn't really care about anybody else except Ben Jealous. And I thought that he would make a difference in Maryland. Like now, no, I don't think like that, but before then I did. So I would tell him like, look, I think Ben Jealous would fix all this and da da da. Like I really care about anybody else right now. Like I think Ben Jealous is a guy, but whatever. But but yeah, that really woke me up. How like the way I was moving regarding voting, the way I would the people I would support, um, was actually hurting like my brothers and sisters, my people here. And so since then, I'm no longer a Democrat. I get all my news and all my news literally from, I guess, literally you guys here, this type of room here. You guys literally like my CNN, like for real. I've learned a lot. This is my first time talking. I'm mostly a listener, and I'm always just learning from you guys. I'm always learning from New Black Media. Um, so can I guess tether change. I would say yes. It really depends on the person, and I would also say it is really hard that whether it's your family or like your party, it is cultish. It is like really cultish, and it's really hard to break away. So I don't know. It's just I guess it depends. And one other thing, I never heard growing up. I never heard like FBAs like consider themselves like say the words Black American. So now when I hear the word Black American from an FBA, like saying it, it's weird to me because growing up, I would hear the word Black American from Nigerians. I always hear it with an accent. So when you guys say it, it's kind of weird to me. So basically what I'm saying is Nigerians has always delineated. Like, don't let anybody lie to you. Like, just come out and say we're all black, blah blah blah, this and that. a lot, I won't say all, a lot of them have always delineated. So I find it very like disingenuous when a Nigerian, when what any black immigrant says, "Oh, we're all black," blah blah blah, this and that. Nah, you Nigerians, they've been separating themselves from the get go. Um, so yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you for letting me speak.
Okay, is the next person I see, is either DC or MPL? Which one was next?
It was
DC.
DC. It's DC.
Okay. All right. DC, go ahead, unmute. MP1, mute. DC, you could come off your mute.
Okay, all right, I appreciate it, Queen. Man, shout out to my brother that just spoke, man. Like that what he just did, that is the definition of being on code. He told us the truth about what was going on in his sector of the black community. And he was honest enough to come to the table and say, like, hey man, I thought I had it right and I had it wrong. And if we had the diaspora doing what he's doing, bro, we'd be on point. We wouldn't have no problems right now. So I'm just want to salute you, bro. I didn't catch your name, but I'm definitely see if I can shoot you a follow, because that behavior is the correct behavior from top to bottom. And I wanted to stack on what we were saying earlier, because I know I took a very hard stance on whether or not people can change, but I wanted to also add that we got to be careful in the middle of all this work that we're doing to not become what we're trying to avoid. Because in a lot of these toxic rooms recently, I saw people like my brother that just spoke who would come up to the stage and try to have a respectful dialogue with us. And some of us, nah, you were tethered. Nah, you were tethered. Okay, so this is not constructive, because now we've started to not be able to separate apples from oranges. And that's very important, that we don't find ourselves starting to become filled with hate for our own people because we're so focused on protecting the line. And one example of that is Dr. Jovan Lewis. So I don't know how many of you guys have been following the California Reparations Task Force, but Dr. Jovan Lewis is of Jamaican descent. And that brother teaches at Berkeley out here in Cali, and he could have voted in his own interest for race-based reparations. He didn't do that. He voted for lineage-based reparations. And when I was at the California Task Force hearings last weekend, I had to walk up to that brother and thank him genuinely from the bottom of my heart, because he didn't have to do that. He could have looked out for his own interest, and he didn't do it. He did the honorable thing and the right thing. Meanwhile, Reggie Jones Sawyer, who was also from my city, who was a homegrown coon of the highest order, is the one who actually was trying to delay things from going forward, because he wanted to remove people like Camilla Moore from the task force because they were working on behalf of Black Americans, and he's supposedly supposed to be a freedman. He is a freedman, but he's a slave. So here we have one person who isn't of our lineage, but is a part of our greater family. And we have somebody who's in our own fucking house who tried to undermine us. And if we don't take the time to figure out who's who, then we're doing ourselves a disservice. So my advice to everybody would be, keep your thinking cap on, move with critical thought. If you approach somebody who you see is not freedman, assume that this person can break bad on you, but you have to judge them on a case-by-case basis. And if they break bad on you, then you won't be surprised, because you already knew the nature of their community as a whole. But this is the way that I think that we need to move, and I'm going to land with that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, but see, this is the voices we need to keep the thing going. You know, each one teach one. If we could get more voices like this to start drowning out the coon voices, a lot more can get accomplished. So I appreciate everyone putting in their opinions on this. MP1 and Hard Black Truth, you two are going to be the last speakers. Then I'm going to end the space. And I'll let everyone say their last little bit after Hard Black Truth, and then I'll let y'all enjoy the rest of your day until 3 o'clock when I do my live stream on my channel when I talk about the fake reparationists. But MP1, go ahead.
All right, I appreciate you letting me speak again. Yeah, that was real talk, DC. And I want to say to Son, yeah, thanks for being honest and speaking your truth. I would say to you as well as that I wouldn't say that was tether behavior, following the Democrats blindly, because unfortunately, a lot of FBA people also follow the Democrats blindly without knowing what's good for our situation and the black community in general. So I wouldn't say that was tether behavior. Other things like undermining reparations and undermining the black community, and like you said, them already being delineated from foundational black Americans. But when something comes up, acting like, oh no, we're black together, and we all together. But as soon as you get something for your community, nah, it's just we Nigerian, we ain't like them. That's tether behavior. So following the Democrats blindly was not tether behavior. You're just politically uneducated, and you just got to do your research and follow the legislation and follow what they actually are doing that benefits black people in this and in America in the whole. And one other thing I just want to say, Andy, you made a statement as far as like African people, they believe they the doctors and stuff in this country. We have to understand that I don't know where a lot of immigrants get that type of thought process, but we are the majority doctors, we are the majority lawyers, FBAs, we are the majority engineers, we are the majority business owners in this country. Yes, they have large numbers in demographics because they lower numbers than us. But ultimately, we are the business owners, the doctors, the lawyers, the nurses. We make up the biggest black demographic of educated people in this country. And I just want to land with that.
Are the host still with us? Is it just me?
Okay. We have one more person that's going to be the Hard Black Truth, and then afterwards we're going to end the space. Go ahead and speak, Hard Black Truth. Hard Black Truth, you can unmute your mic.
All right, yeah. Damn, I just got some horrible news. But yeah, I just wanted to say, politics. That's a real big, really the most basic way you can show your voice. And for those who are, if you're not politically savvy, you might find yourself a little too invested in these political parties. And yeah, if you not from the soil, you can find yourself doing some real tether shit. You know what I'm saying? So it does pay to be aware. And I just wanted to leave you with, new black media. You know what I'm saying? Like folks try to throw that, that name in the dirt, but you can't do that. Like if you're trying to be in tune with the people as a whole got going on, it behooves you to follow the new black media. And shout out to all the folks in here in the room that contribute and do their part to that. Of course, you already know the big three, Tariq, Jason Black, Professor Black Truth, and there are many others that do their thing as well. But those are the folks who are actually looking out and have shown to be looking out the best interest of black people as it pertains to black empowerment, the message of reparations and all of that. So, if you are new to it, there goes your plug. You already know where you could, kind of be in tune. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Be one.
Kid, are you there? Okay, we're going to go ahead and end the space now. Thank you, everyone, for coming in and sharing with us. We appreciate everyone for being honest, and everyone have a great day. Peace. Afro, I'm removing people from the space. The space is over and Kid Gravity walked off somewhere, so I'm removing everybody one by one.
Oh,
So if you can help me remove everybody from the space because it's over. Oh no, you can't.
Yeah. I literally
All
had
right.
to I couldn't hear anything. The
Oh,
space
okay.
was tweaking for me, so that's why I had to leave. Like I was trying to read the captions, but then the captions disappeared, so I had to leave and come back. And I tried to close out, so I'm literally yeah, okay. Well, I'm gonna leave then. I'm gonna leave.
Okay.
All right, sorry about that. Yeah, so I appreciate everyone speaking. Like I said, I'm going to end the space now. Uh, Take care, stay safe. Hopefully, you'll join me at 3 o'clock on my channel with the fake reparationist live stream that I'm going to do. And that's it. Take care, stay safe, and